There you go.
Okay, can we have, we'll start with the roll call. Right?
Wait, Ryan Woods, Ian Gould, Doug Porter,
Dave Morse,
Amy Monahan.
Sid Fletcher, John Day, Aaron Farbo, Joseph Adeletta.
thank you. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't think we need 9. How many people are here?
They're on next day.
9 on the commission, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're an alternate,
I'm an alternate. You're missing Mark.
Mark, so we're only missing 1. So, we'll go back to alphabetical, Mr. Day. Please. It's done, do our pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so there's a question raised about the way the meeting was posted. It says it's a draft agenda, and there's some concern about legally, so we're gonna have the meeting. And we're not gonna take any votes, or anything, we're gonna either table or extend the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would encourage you to not take that course of action. I think you are absolutely having a legal meeting. I would encourage you to just pass a quick motion to adopt the listed draft agenda as your formal agenda for this evening and proceed.
I had a conversation with Chandler, first selectman, and this was his recommendation. So.
Very well.
I think that's what we're gonna do. This is gonna be a fairly complicated public hearing anyway, so we'll, see where we get with that, but that's, talked with the first selectman, and we decided that was the best route to take, because I don't want to make a decision and then have it be not at a publicly legal meeting, because that can have blowback. So, we'll start, and I just wanted in the last week, I forgot to welcome Amy to the board, or last meeting, so we appreciate being here. Thank you for coming on. So now we're on to the public hearing. Application number 660725 zoning regulation text amendment application, adding in definition and regulations for managed residential communities by Kenneth Pelt, AM Villa Estate LLC. Do we need a motion to go into a public hearing, or do we just move into it?
You can just open, you can declare the public hearing open, Mr. Chair.
So the public hearing is open. Mr. Pelt, we're the representative here?
Myself.
Yes. Do you want to just give us a little overview? I mean, we've all read the application.
No, I'm just here for general discussion on how to meet common grounds to get this MRC approved in the text amendment. So I'm here more for questions, concerns, and hopefully clarity on both sides.
Okay, I was looking at it. So is this a I had it right in my hand, there we go.
Recording in progress.
Here we are. Here it is. So with the residents here would not have cars then, right? Because the parking's,
There will be parking spaces.
it'll be parking spaces, but it says 0.15 per.
Yeah, most of these are required assisted with daily living, so by nature of the business, this parking is very limited. Necessary.
Okay.
Yeah, there'll be parking spaces defined in the Connecticut statute based on highest peaks, working shifts, so that's likely around 12 o'clock, so. That'll be based on the residents that are approved in this building if we do proceed with it. It'll be based on the residents' room count.
Okay, and so this is not a nursing home.
Technically.
So it's a residential
There's
facility.
nurses required to be on site to be readily available, but this is non-nursing care. Just strictly for ADLs, which is assisted with daily living. And, yeah, it's very limited and outlined in my proposal here.
Okay. We have, any other questions? Joseph?
I was looking at just that was me. Well, first question, do you have experience with MRCs? Building MRCs or-
No, this is new for Connecticut, and this town, from what I understand, so. There's very limited MRCs, but I have consulting experience with several out of Massachusetts, but it's completely different when you get to Connecticut, so.
Sure,
But I will have the proper, obviously, legal counsel.
right, you identified that in
Right,
your
absolutely.
standards. This certainly would be the first one in Woodstock, but there seem to be a number of them in Connecticut. Through Camden, Norwich,
Right.
Glastonbury. That look really pretty nice.
Yeah.
All nice facilities. So this looks promising that they can fit into regulations and the land here in Woodstock. A number of these Hartford, New Haven, Glastonbury, Seymour stores, or they're in more urban areas. So other services, shopping stores, healthcare are close by. So one concern I have is just the distance one of these MRCs might have for residents there who would need the activities of shopping, entertainment, or healthcare, things like that.
Not to interrupt you, but the MRCs are responsible for their housing needs, including what they require for them. Room.
Yes,
But, yeah, that's absolutely something that should be addressed in the feasibility study, maybe opening up to what's available within 5 mile radius.
right.
Seeing what resources are available to them, but, yes, obviously it'll have to be defined on where the location, whoever submits a building permit. That's a great point, Joe. But those needs are clearly outlined in the statute for what's required, and they wouldn't be following through with that regulation.
Another point that I was trying to see in your comments and some things in the state regulations was this square footage of the units. Which was, the only place I saw was Greenwich that has
Specified one.
there's some specified square footage for, obviously, a single bedroom or a double bedroom, different sizes. So I was wondering if that was any part of your picture of size of these.
That's definitely something that should be a bullet in the proposed plan, sure, but I would say
Okay.
on average, they're 1 bedroom, but I can't speak to any specific building, because I'm here to just do a text amendment, but that text amendment would definitely outline the required square footage based on the MRC, and that's gonna be appointed to whoever architect is designed, that's generally on them to follow through with the guidelines.
Okay. And I think the regulations was, the height was no more than 35 feet, so that's like a 2.5 story building. Which, because it's not assisted living, these are adults who can live on their own. It doesn't need any special fire escape systems, so I mean, normal ones are okay. Elevators are necessary. Accessible.
Obviously, there will be some fire code that they're gonna also be outlining in whatever building is submitted. That's definitely would be in the blueprints, the architectural drawings, whatever they that may come to fruition, but
So this actually said 25 feet or 1.5 stories.
like
25 feet, okay.
So it was 1.5
Oh,
stories.
it's 1.5,
That's not-
all right,
it's
all right.
in here.
Our regulations are 30.
Yeah, this specific proposal was a 1.5, 25.
Okay,
And one reason why I decided to put that in there specifically is because I don't want to use elevators there.
Yes.
yes,
Just to limit risk, limit response, just minimize the buildings and mostly steer away from 2-story dwellings. I don't want to stack residents. I don't want to allow that to be built in our community.
good.
So that will by nature forces the more common around and personalized care versus commercial, which you're kind of, referring to these high populated areas, and they typically give the impression of 4 or 5 stories and multi-care. This would not be a good example of what would be proposed.
Okay. And just the last question is the density.
Mhm.
I'm trying to find it here where it says,
Per acre. Default residential units per acre,
per acre and
per buildable acre.
per buildable acre, and for
10
the
acres.
suggestion was a 10 acre, so. It's a maximum of 120 units, assuming all 10 are buildable, but I'm sure that's not gonna be possible given septic and water.
Right.
So I don't know if we wanna think about being a little bit more defined in the regulations on the density. As just a discussion item for the commission.
Maybe the maximum square footage footprint, something so sort, you're saying, or just the occupant count?
Well, we're trying to find it, I think, as like the buildable land or the number of units per acre. It's not a bad thing, but it may have to be a smaller set aside. I think that's all I can think of.
No,
right
that
now.
was great. Thank you.
So I had a question. I'm John Day. Why are you doing the text amendment route as opposed to doing a special permit?
There is no current special permit category that would allow what he wants to do. So he had needed to create it.
So that would be an option. To create a special permit category for assisted living. As
That's what,
opposed to,
that's precisely what he's proposing.
that's what we're doing. But it would still require a special permit?
Correct.
Yeah.
So this is an application for a text amendment that would enable a future applicant to apply for the category that would be created by this amendment.
So if the applicant came before the commission with a proposal, it would not be, and it didn't meet criteria. It couldn't be approved if there was criteria met.
That's correct. This application would create the standards. And the future application would need to meet these standards as well as your omnibus special permit decision criteria.
So I guess what I'm asking is, does this lock us in? If it meets all the criteria and we deny, we don't like something about the proposal, can we still vote it down?
No.
Well, ideally, the thing you don't like about it would be tied back to something that it does not meet.
Which makes it important to make sure that the regulations spell out what we envision and.
So maybe that's a topic for later, but I mean,
Yeah.
would it not make more sense to create the category and then say it requires a special permit and give us plenty of room to decide whether something makes sense for the community or not?
You still have to have criteria.
Right.
So you still have to go through this. How far or how deep it is, doesn't matter. You still have to take the step.
But you're saying if it meets all the criteria, you have to approve it.
That's the criteria of a special permit application.
application.
If the commission makes that formal finding that it meets all the criteria, it would have a hard time denying it. And have that legally defensible, because you've said, all right, we've given you a checklist of 9 things that you need to meet. You meet all of them, but no, you're denied. That would be tough to defend.
So then the onus is on us to craft a document, a text amendment that is really well written and covers everything we want for the community for this to fit into the community. Is that correct?
Yeah, you'd want to be sure that this gave you all of the appropriate regulatory safeguards to either make it fit, be able to deny it clearly, or I mean, the nature of a special permit is you do have some ability to negotiate and wiggle if you believe that some changes will better make it fit. So if you have problem, and it should be tied back to some element of public health, safety, welfare, enjoyment of neighboring properties and things like that. So if you think that it doesn't fit because the buildings are too high, or it's going to generate too much traffic, or it's going to generate too much noise, or there are wastewater concerns, then you are empowered by a special permit to make adjustments to correct those deficiencies. But you can't just say, there's no deficiency, but we don't like it. You know, the idea is to identify what is deficient.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things that stood out to me on this, potential 120 units, the setbacks seem relatively short to me. Yeah, I'll defer to you guys about it, but it just seems like you could drive a truck through the way it's written right now.
Go ahead.
This is a former multifamily. Yeah, took you a little bit of that. This is a former multifamily housing. We have, right now, our regulations do not allow us to have a duplex unless it has 10 acres. So we're going from a duplex on 10 acres to 122 units on 10 acres. That's a pretty big jump. And I think we have, as a committee, we're reviewing our multifamily options. And I think at this point, we should just take this under advisement and just put it as part of our discussion on multifamily option. Anyone can file for a text amendment. I think the cost is $100. Just because the person filed for a text amendment doesn't mean we have to do anything with it. And at this point, I think we just say thank you for bringing that to our attention. We have a group that's working on multifamily housing. I don't see anyone stampeding in here on the demand side saying we're really looking for a place for having this type of facility in Woodstock. I agree with John, the regulations are wide open. It could happen anywhere in the town. The idea of putting us, and there's no limit on how many or anything, of having a whole bunch of these units, projects in our town, it's gonna stress our EMS services. If they have it out in North Woodstock or West Woodstock, how do we get the ambulance out there? These people may require more services. I just think it's great to bring it to our attention, but my feeling is we just deny the text amendment and we go and say, we're gonna defer this to our multifamily working group and deal with apartments, condominiums, affordable housing, accessible housing, all of those all at once.
And included that with the assisted, presumably.
That's something
If it fit the multifamily housing
correct.
regulations. Right, I mean, that's sort of how I still learned it.
That's kind of where I see it. It's multifamily housing. We have, our regulations are very weak on multifamily housing, except basically saying you have to have 10 acres. And then I don't remember what the ratio is. Sid, do you remember what the ratios are for multifamily housing for additional dwelling units? It's not, it may be 1.5 units per acre. And now we're looking at application that's providing with 12 units per acre. That's sewer type of demand. There are probably some places in Woodstock that you could service on a septic system, 12 units per, but it's gonna be very tight. It's gonna be something with a large gravel area or something that's extremely well drained. We have a sewer avoidance plan in our town. We are not actively letting people add on to the existing sewer. So I'm not sure where you're gonna demonstrate a site that's gonna be able to support 12 units per acre.
I mean, right now, the multifamily says 1 dwelling per acre.
Okay, so it's one.
Minimum lot size 10 acres.
Yeah.
Um,
So we're going from 1 unit per acre to 12 units per acre. And I think that type of change should come from the commission, not from an applicant. If we think that's worthwhile to have, then the commission should have a lot of discussion with the town and the people in the town. Is that the direction we want to go? Not necessarily have it from an applicant.
So I don't want to just completely blow you off, but where did you come up with the 12 residents per acre? Is that what you need to be profitable, or is that what Mass does, or where did that number come from?
I just want to make sure that we are writing down all the concerns so I can follow them. I appreciate all your feedback, and that's the only way I'm going to look at it right now. And I do respect everything that you addressed, and I appreciate you recording so I can follow up. The idea comes from just understanding there is a void in the community that those who are putting stress on their own family and they need assistance with their daily living. I think it's an opportunity more than something that should be dismissed. If it wasn't for this applicant over here, this wouldn't even be part of the discussion. So I don't want to talk about profitability here, because I'm not even submitting a building.
No, that's, I
So I can't
understand that.
even, ask that.
I'm just trying to figure out where the
How can
12
I even
came from,
follow up?
you know?
Yeah, right. And by the way, I do have 4 years, and I appreciate your question, as a consultant for one of the most prominent assisted living facility across Massachusetts. If anybody has seen the inside of those buildings, I know. I'm not saying I want 120 beds. I don't care if there's 16 beds. I'd be more in favor of a 16-bed building than 120. That's just, this is just open for discussion. How do we get to 16 beds? If you're not happy with 120, then we got to discuss how we can get to common ground.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm getting at here, is you gotta
No, I
figure out, you know,
appreciate
what
it.
you guys need as a developer versus, you know, what the
I'm
town
not-
wants or,
Well, I
you know,
can't discuss
whoever.
even developing. The only, I'm a applicant as a resident here. I can't even tell you I'm gonna commit to a project.
Mhm.
If this opens up to be a feasible option, I can't predict the future, but if there's anybody who's here who's gonna do it, it's me.
Yeah.
With the right purpose and the passion.
Yeah. Okay.
Question? I have two questions. One, would it be reasonable to do something through,
Excuse me, can you state your name for the record, please?
yes, my name is Jo Hannafin, Hannafin. I live on 220 West Quasit Road. Is there the feasibility of doing a survey of the older residents in Woodstock who are engaged with the Woodstock Commission on Aging, who come to meetings, who volunteer their time, who are often of that 55 and older group, get a sense of the need for this in this community. The second is this facility, if it's 12 units or 20 units, whatever it is, the current Woodstock residents going to be given priority to live in that facility? Because my in-laws lived in one in Peabody, Mass, that was extraordinarily expensive, and the only people that could live there were people who could afford the extraordinary expense. We have a great aunt who lived in one outside of Cushing, Maine, which was much more community-based and was looking to house people who no longer could mow their 1-acre lawn and had too many stairs in their home and wanted a sense of some community. And the third is, if you begin to develop this, are going to be common facilities where the people that live in these apartments were isolated from their families and many of their friends to be able to meet. And the last is, if you really want people who are able-bodied but no longer able to manage their home, many of them will need a car. And so the fact that you're only allowing parking for staff members, you may not get people that are at that transition who maybe have 3 or 4 years before they lose their ability to drive. So I think as you're going through your planning, those are things to think about. It's my thoughts.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments from the board?
I just wanted to comment that I think, you know, this is a good starting point as a discussion for the commission for what we're talking about, multifamily housing. It's a text amendment that starts giving us something to write on and edit and work with. So I think it's a good starting point. It also is helpful to have members of the public here to be able to give some feedback on their thoughts about this kind of managed residential care community here. It seems like a good idea, and based on the Commission of Aging activity here in town, may be an interesting kind of proposition. So I agree with Doug about giving the commission some time to work on what we've already started talking about, multifamily housing. And I would just suggest, given the situation with the agenda, that we table this as opposed to denying it as a, since it's not a.
Can't actual act on it today. Yeah. Right, yeah.
So just table it to another public hearing. and then we'll have a
Well, we're
finalized
gonna,
agenda.
we're not gonna close the public hearing.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Right.
Continue.
I just wanted to be real clear. I'm not excited, I'm not interested in doing this at all right at the moment. Yes, legally, we have to wait and have another public hearing.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm against a project. I just think it should come through the commission with their multifamily focus. And because there may be other options that we should be looking at. And I think it should come from our direction, not necessarily from an applicant. If there were a lot of, and maybe there are people here in the audience, if there was a strong demand from the residents of Woodstock,
Mhm.
I might be interested, but I'm unaware of a strong demand. I know all of us are looking for places, I want to say for our parents, but now it's for us. So, since I've taken care of my parents and now my kids are probably worrying about how they're going to take care of me. It's part of that whole thing of what we're providing for housing on the whole spectrum. Right now, Woodstock is primarily a single family home that only address certain parts of the people's housing needs. This addresses another one, which is important.
And if I notice, on our agenda later part is more discussion about multifamily housing.
So am I hearing you correctly? You guys are defining this as Woodstock as multifamily and not the definition of Connecticut? Am I under-
No, I think there are two different issues. This
Because
MRC,
this wouldn't be considered multifamily in the event that this isn't approved for more than one resident unless they're occupied by a spouse. You can't have other living members in your, at no point. And that could be,
okay,
and
right,
that could also be protected through a deed saying this cannot be converted to anything in the near, anything for indefinite.
Right.
So I don't see why we would already dismiss this and make that, when this isn't even defined as multifamily, I'm going by Connecticut state statute because this doesn't exist yet. So you guys are denying it, I just want, or maybe you're not denying it yet, you're tabling, you call it, but for what reason, so I can formally follow up, that's all I.
okay.
So this is multifamily in the sense of multiple dwellings for multiple people in a specific area as opposed to a single family detached dwelling. That's why this would fall under the aegis of the larger multifamily. So this is a type of it's not specifically multifamily, it's multi-person development.
And that's clearly written in zoning current
That's
regulations.
part of what we're dealing with. We don't really have any definition of multifamily housing. That's worthwhile. And you correctly pointed it out. In the materials you sent to us.
We do, this just doesn't fit it.
Yeah.
So why we just define it as such? I mean, we're not allowing other residents to live in these units. In fact, this isn't, the lease would be built differently. Opposed to a rental. It's not fire protected walls dividing these units. They're, because of the nature of the business, they're not even kitchens and they're just kitchenettes. So we just gotta make sure that we're not stepping on the current definition, that's all. Unless,
What they're gonna find. It's gonna be fire protected. It's gonna have sprinklers.
oh yeah.
Okay, so it may not have
protection.
fire
It doesn't
rated wall,
define it
but
as
it's gonna have sprinklers in it because it has more than 6 occupants.
But it wouldn't define it.
Correct.
Well, it's actually great that you brought this to us, because I mean, this will be considered in the overall discussion about
Yeah, no, I expect a lot of
multi-unit
discussion.
places. Yeah.
Question or comment?
Yeah, one second, let me finish with the
Yep.
commissioners.
Yep.
And we'll open it to the public.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
Any other commissioners?
At the moment.
Okay, not at the moment. Okay.
I have one question, just your appropriate location section. You specifically referenced that it's a good location due to the existing infrastructure, access to transportation and proximity to services. I can't think of an area in Woodstock that has sufficient infrastructure or access to transportation or proximity to services. So I think that that might need to be rewritten a little bit, you know what I mean? We
Yeah.
don't have sewer and water that's like other towns, even the one in Hebron, which is a small town, that's on sewer and water. And there is no public transportation and there is no central part of Woodstock, so it's very rural, so I don't think that that is like those three specific things.
I mentioned transportation just because that's on the responsibility of an MRC.
Right, but I'm just saying, the way that it was presented, it, like, those three are actually against you, you might wanna re-establish that whole appropriate location thing, because you're proving that it's not an appropriate location. Just for future.
Ma'am, online? On the Zoom call?
That's Wendy.
Wendy, can you?
Yes, Wendy Costa, 67 East Quasit, Vice Chair of the Commission on Aging. As I mentioned, I think in the last P and Z meeting, we've completed our survey and we've been analyzing the results, especially as it relates to housing. And we are going to be conducting a community forum to go over those results, but more importantly, to find out, we know people want to stay. We know people don't feel they have the ability to age in place in Woodstock. What do they need? I was planning on introducing a question or something around the need for nursing homes, assisted living facilities, rehab facilities, whatever the case may be. And obviously everybody on P and Z will be invited to the forum whenever we set a date. But if you want to provide a specifically worded question or two that we can do, I mean, I can't guarantee how many people are going to come, so I don't know whether it will be a valid response, but I'm willing to entertain whatever questions specifically you might want to ask the public around the need or desire for this type of a facility.
Thank you. Okay, anybody, in the public, please, stand up, state your name, and keep first round, we'll keep it to like. 3 or 4
Christine
minutes.
Lessig, I'm also on the Commission of Aging, and clearly we had a great feedback from the survey. But one of the concerns we have, you talked about it being multifamily, but when you think of a family, you think of, the septic, you think of multi-bedrooms. When you're talking independent living, it's usually a single bedroom, and majority of the assisted living are single people. It's very rare that you have a couple. So I mean, it's a totally different type of space than you think of multifamily. So as you explore this issue, please keep that in mind. But clearly, people have spoken pretty clearly in the survey, which we'll share, that there is really a need for some assisted living. But transportation is always a challenge, and we're working on that as well.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Sam, people say, Sam Morgan. My only question is, we're talking about assisted living. And if he's not gonna have kitchens in his dwellings, I don't care how many units are there. And the people are handicapped and you're gonna supply nursing, but yet you're not gonna have elevators, how are they gonna get to the second floor? And I thought in Woodstock. Oh, there's no, I'm sorry. Apologize on that one.
I messed that up.
Alright. And there's no parking, that was my only other thing.
That was another one of our concerns, so.
Parking, and that can only be defined when we reach some sort of resident criteria based on occupancy, so. It's, and I think someone earlier, I can't remember his name, mentioned, based on only staff, it's really not just on staff. Might be at the business hour, visiting hours.
Any other comments from the public?
Kitchen one. Oh, yeah, I apologize. Yeah, there would be a kitchen one in there,
stand again.
which is, just consists of a 4-foot countertop, just, some very small refrigerator, so there's no. Essentially nothing else on the kitchens, and just one bathroom.
Yes, Aaron?
Do you have any common areas or places for people to gather and hang out? And just
No, I think that should be written clearly on the, or if it's not, it should be added as an architectural requirement, but commonly they are built for common grounds for, mostly so they can enjoy find social, economic activity. Like social gatherings, but that's very common amongst assisted living facilities.
Yes.
So would that be to include like a dining facility that most of them would be utilizing?
Yes, and the dining will be obviously included in one of the requirements 3 times daily, but yeah, general kitchen to supply all the food.
Just another thing I noticed when I was reading through this is that, there's a note about structure shall reflect the rural and residential character of Woodstock, and as much as we all like that, I don't think we can put that in writing. Defining
Design standards.
those is not allowed.
No, you can, as long as you're somewhat specific about what that means architecturally.
As he has it listed, it doesn't really fit a single story structure anyway.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah, I was just
condominiums are usually 2-story plus structures.
but anyway, so can we, is it legal to say, John?
Say that again?
Define what the building looks like?
Yeah, you should. So, well, colonial farmhouse barn dominium, those are, recognizable styles. And so if that's what they're saying, it should be clear that that's the exhaustive list, or there would be other styles acceptable. Specificity would be important here, but you can have design oversight.
Okay. I was just curious. Did I see another hand up, Aaron?
John, do you have experience with this at any other, town or city you've worked on in the state? Have you run across this yet?
Not this well. I think there's some minor detail differences between a managed residential community, but I mean it's essentially assisted living, which is something that a number of communities would allow. They would consider it more of a some would consider a healthcare facility as opposed to multifamily. In some places, and I think Amy mentioned Hebron, they have there essentially a graduated living center where there is some basic, just senior housing, independent living. And then there's another section of the building that is assisted, that has some staff support. And then there's essentially a full nursing home memory care facility. And it's a full spectrum in the same building. It's clearly not quite independent multifamily, and it's clearly not a nursing home. So it's a little bit in the middle, and the specifics matter.
And as the applicant has mentioned, the Connecticut General Statutes has something very specific for managed residential care facilities, as opposed to assisted living or adult care. So there's some good definitions there for MRCs.
Anything else?
I just want to say, I understand that we're not gonna be able to do anything about it, today, or realistically anytime really soon. But I do not think that multifamily would be the way to go about finding this.
No, and we're not saying I don't think anybody said we're gonna define this as multifamily. We're working about doing this as we work on our multifamily regulations.
Yeah,
I think that was the gist.
okay, I just don't think it should be.
This isn't gonna be grouped in, this isn't multifamily, this is the MRC, the managed residential care. So, I think that it was one of those, Doug was saying, that as we go through this with our multifamily housing, that we should take this text amendment application and work it in when we do that. And will be up for further discussion. So I think that's the point. Doug?
I make a motion, we table it till our next meeting. Unless I'm not cutting anyone off. So,
Yep.
So I make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So. Okay. Thank you, Ken. I think it's a great idea.
working through part of the process, as we call it.
Okay, now my chair report, that's a little, okay. Like I said before, welcome, Amy to the board and, thank you everybody for being here and, all the work that you do. Do we have any citizens comments on things that aren't on the agenda tonight? Seeing none, we'll move forward. We have the meeting minutes from August 21st. Do I have a motion to accept those?
Move to accept the minutes as presented. Second.
Any discussion? Okay, it's all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? John and Sid abstained. New business, application number 667-9-25, permit application for change of use. At 6 and 8 Stonebridge Road, which is one of the McFallen houses. Are representatives here?
I don't believe so. Unless Ben Carbone is there, I don't think he was going to attend. If I might, Mr. Chair, he was going to be traveling and is actually going to be traveling next month as well. But he wanted to get this application started and asks the commission to, again, it's a special permit. He has a variety of uses, basically to turn this into a small scale event facility, weddings, special events, things like that, and turn one of the houses on this site to a small, essentially a country inn or small rental residential opportunity for, members of the wedding party and things like that. That would all be covered under a single special permit for reuse of the property. So it's a special permit, needs a public hearing. He would ask that you exercise your discretion to schedule the public hearing 2 months out and open it at your November meeting.
Okay, and
It's November 20th, regular.
our regular meeting is November 20th. I will, is that Thanksgiving?
No, it'll be the 27th is Thanksgiving.
Okay, awesome. Just making sure. Never know which, I know it's Thursday, I don't know which one.
And do a potluck.
Okay, so do we have a motion to move to set up a public hearing for this on November 20th at 7:45?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Okay, this brings us to the application number 668-09-25, activity on a scenic road, 259 Quarry Road. Applicant is Kings Highway Farm, Brian Sheldon. And we have the application. Is it all in or is it? John?
Well, he filled out the application for activity on a scenic road and included a description of activity. Pay the fee. I'll maybe restrain from commenting on the level of detail in the application, but it is a complete application form and the fee was paid. So I would recommend you go ahead and schedule a hearing.
Okay. So when
It'll be October 17th, if it's the next meeting.
the next meeting is October 17th, I am not going to be here for that one.
Oh, October 16th, sorry.
Yeah. Boy.
Do we have a vice chair?
Mark is not here. And that's not always a good month for him.
I mean, you can delay it until November also. You have it's a public hearing, so you have 65 days in which to open the hearing.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be here the 16th, I'm traveling. I don't know if anybody else wants to step up, if you want to have a public hearing. I'd hate to throw it on Mark without him being here.
He's not here, so we should throw him under the bus.
Then no better time.
Yeah.
I suppose we can move that to the November 20th meeting also. Thanks for a long meeting sometimes, but
Yeah, I don't know if we should go through it.
huh?
Yeah, that other one's gonna be a contentious.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the public hearing that we already scheduled is gonna take a long
I
time.
feel this should be scheduled for October.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we kind of need to schedule it for the 16th because we're gonna run out of time on scheduling, right? John?
Well, no, I mean, you have 65 days in which to open the public hearing. That doesn't burn any of the rest of your statutory time clock. So that it's, you know, other than public interest, it's really immaterial if you hold it in October or November.
We're just thinking about length of meeting because we're having that other
Sure.
one.
November
Sure, that's
6th.
then that's a personal question of stamina and endurance for the membership.
We could do it the first meeting of October, it's too early.
How about do the first meeting and we could have a meeting on the 6th of November. That's kind of our planning meeting. And I hate to do this, but we need to get this done. There's gonna be several, I know at least several people will be away on October. That the board be acceptable to that, having it on November 6th.
I'll make a motion that we schedule it for November 6th. I think there's people that are interested in it, both the applicant and the butters. So I think keep it moving, it would be good.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. We have scheduled a preliminary discussion, indoor recreation facility in the industrial park districts, Mike Novia and Ryan O'Rourke. Are you here? Are they here?
Yeah.
Or on Zoom.
Yes, Ryan's here.
Okay,
Ryan's online.
okay, great. Hi, Ryan, welcome.
Hi, welcome. Yeah, thank you for having me. So I'm advising Michael Novia, who is in the process of potentially purchasing the industrial building at 30 Crabtree Lane in Woodstock. Mike runs a indoor batting facility in Leicester, Cherry Valley, Massachusetts, called the Double Play Sports and Fitness. So it's a gym, batting cage facility. He runs an AAU program out of that. I think they have upwards of 20 teams right now, I think, and they are also in the midst of building out behind that, which is now an AU basketball program. So he's looking to kind of expand his presence, you know, into Connecticut. We circled on this facility, toured it, liked the building, spoke to the fire marshal about if he was to do renovations inside and take the middle wall out. Would he need a fire suppression system? They've kind of given us the okay on that as long as everything else checks out. So our kind of final piece to the puzzle is if the zoning is able to be switched, whether it's a special permit or, you know, I'm sure some of you will be able to kind of point us in the right direction of, you know, is this going to be allowed for sports and recreation at this site? There's 10,000 square feet. Our goal is just for one large indoor facility. No outdoor spectators, really, just, you know, kind of the program itself. And there's plenty of parking and there's multiple acres behind in case, you know, we were going to bring a, you know, put like a small training facility back there as well, like a field. So that is kind of where we stand right now. I believe, you know, the owner of the park, whoever we had talked to, had said, you know, we need to join this meeting in order to, you know, get an answer and move forward.
I do not know what the regulations are on the park, on the industrial park, off the top of my head. Amy,
Can I just say that having a child who plays sports, most of these facilities are in industrial parks.
Okay, I mean, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, the current facility that he owns and runs, the gym and indoor facility, is part of an industrial park, and he's buying up the building behind it, and that's going to be the basketball court. It used to just hold, you know, old cars and old trucks. So he's, you know, again, trying to make it to positive public use.
And also having a children who do sports, there are not enough facilities in this area, so I think it would be really well welcomed by sports people.
Thank you.
So
Appreciate it.
I don't want to cut Ryan off. I just shared the screen. Hopefully you guys can see this. It's a screenshot from your zoning regulations in the industrial park. And this is the reason I recommended Ryan and his partner attend, because uses allowed by special permit in the industrial park district include little b, uses that are not expressly permitted in the Woodstock Industrial Park under a zoning permit, but that are deemed by the commission to be similar in nature to permitted uses, which would include light industrial, business, professional excavation, accessory uses, and so forth. So this commission has granted itself the ability to essentially add uses to be allowable by a special permit.
Mhm.
So that's the specifics of the question relative to the regs.
I think it's a great idea.
I guess, and one thing I don't want to interrupt is, my client is selling a couple apartment buildings in Worcester and then entering into a 1031 exchange, which has a specific time limit of 180 days. So we would, again, not forcing the hand, but we would need to know within that time frame if it's able to be switched to that zoning, in order to adhere to the regulations so he doesn't pay capital gains taxes.
Oh, I see. Well, I believe that if you apply for a special permit, then we have to have a public hearing. We certainly usually don't spend 6 months doing that, so seems like that would be doable.
Okay.
Can he apply for one on a property he does not own?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Can you apply for one on a property he doesn't own yet?
I believe,
If you have the signature and permission of the owner.
okay. I think we would put it in the contract, and either he would apply or we would during that time and make that a condition of closing.
Okay. Yeah, I don't hear anybody saying anything bad about it. So, any other concerns from the board on this? I mean, it sounds like a great idea.
Thank you.
There would be just make sure traffic is safe. Obviously there's trucks and stuff going in and out, but it's not like you're gonna have kids outside running around. They're gonna be coming in cars, it seems like.
Yeah.
Joseph, did you have a
Yeah,
question?
just a quick question, and I think that this is a great idea. I'd like to see it work. And because we're going into a special permit, potentially a special permit process, just like to maybe have the time to run this by Rich Roberts as interpreting the regulations, because the regulations show, as John Kowski said, be similar in nature to permitted uses in the list of permitted uses or manufacturing, business and professional offices. So if we can get a reasonable interpretation that a sports facility falls into that, I'm good with that.
Sure.
But I just want to make sure we're meeting our own regulations.
I might be interpreting this a little loosely, Joe, but
Okay,
up in section 2, paragraph D, it says employee recreational facility.
employee.
Well, they're not employees, but it does specify a recreational facility.
And that's all I'm worried about, I'm trying to stretch these things a little
So,
too
yeah.
loosely.
We can certainly run this past Rich, but I mean, you, the commission, are given by your own regulations the latitude to make this determination.
As long as it is similar in nature to the listed permitted uses.
Correct.
Okay.
And you guys would have to make that determination.
I mean, it is a commercial venture. It's not.
All right.
I mean, I'm
just
saying,
asking
I
that
think we should run it by Rich Roberts and make sure we're not crossing up our own regulations.
Right.
I think that's a great idea, and we will do that. Do you want to bring that to Rich, John, or do you want me to?
I'm happy to. I guess I'm just curious about your procedure. Are you more inclined to table this pending Rich's guidance on it, or would you be more inclined to allow the applicant to proceed with a special permit application pending the review of the town attorney?
This is just a preliminary hearing. Nothing's being decided, a preliminary discussion. Just
Okay.
discussing. So we can't really require anything. It's an idea that we run by our attorney.
It's a,
Yeah.
it's a preliminary discussion, but you don't necessarily, this regulation does not require a formal application for determination. If you wish to make a motion, this is a regular meeting, you are able to make a motion of a determination. Again, he doesn't have an application pending.
Right.
He's asking a question, is a commercial recreation facility similar enough to other industrial park uses? Do you make that finding? And then he can decide whether or not he wants to proceed with an application.
So we can make a motion to approve that based off of this? Is that what I understand?
I don't see why not. I sense some hesitancy. I don't see why not. He's asking you a question. You have the ability to make a determination.
Just if it's acceptable not to approve.
No,
I don't think we're making it.
I understand, we're not approving what he wants to do. We're saying it's similar
What's
enough
next?
for him to go.
This is a preliminary discussion. I don't think there's any reason for us to be making any kind of determination now. I don't think seems to be anyone on the commission that's against this right at the moment. We all get the opportunity to review the regulations next month and make sure we understand what we're being asked. And then if he submits an application, we can review it at that point. If we need our attorney's interpretation, we can ask him at that point.
And I don't see any harm in asking the attorney right now.
Except it costs money. And I don't see any reason to spend the money until we have an application in front of us.
Okay.
I think he's gotten what he needs to hear from on the preliminary discussion. There aren't a lot of red flags being thrown up, right? And now we just have to go through our regular process.
In fact, I'd go further. We would do anything possible to make this happen.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's the answer I was looking for.
I will just make one comment to the applicant. Please double check, make sure there aren't any covenants on the industrial district that come back to bite you.
Agreed.
Private covenants, they're not necessarily public covenants. And I'd also reach out to the sewer commission, WPCA, to make sure that they don't have any issues.
Thank you. Yeah, sewer commission, great. Yeah, no, I again, we just want to not waste our time with trying to buy this building and make sure it's possible. So it sounds like it is, and I appreciate all of your time tonight. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
We appreciate your interest in the town.
Of course.
Okay. Old business A is the application for number 666-07-25. Zoning regulation text amendment, that's kind of moved because we tabled the public hearing.
Do you need a motion to table that also or not?
Yeah, you probably want to do that.
Are we supposed to table it in that one?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we table application 666-07-25 since the public hearing is still open.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Okay, brings to be, our discussion on multifamily housing, regulations. John did a nice job of compiling the, bunch of all the, multifamily housing that we have in town.
It was very easy to compile because it was already there in the affordable housing plan. So that was easy.
All that work we did was, helpful.
So if I might, Mr. Chair, based on our conversation last month when we talked about a couple of regulatory examples, it was suggested, and I think it was wise, to sort of step back and talk a little bit about the types of multifamily housing that already exist in town. And so I've put on the screen the pages from the affordable housing plan that show multifamily housing examples, and would be just happy to scroll through or take your lead on how you'd like to discuss it. If you want to scroll through the various examples and just get a sense of how the commission feels about basically appearance, location, density, number of units. I think those are some of the things we want to get at. So I'll take your lead on how you want to proceed.
Well, I'd like to say that we started paying more attention to the ones that, as I drive around town, and they don't really stand out a whole lot. I mean, we know where they are. Most of them look pretty decent. And seem to be in good shape and they're all full. So, you can see if you're on Facebook, people are always looking for places to rent. There's a certain dearth of places to rent in town. So maybe we could just go through and just kind of take a quick look at the ones that John made a list of, so that we can, it's just, I forget how many there are. I'm trying to pull it up.
There's a total of, it looks like about 168 multifamily units in town.
Can I suggest that we focus on the ones not connected to water and sewer, since we are on a no connection policy, to see how those are working out?
So Cornfield is not, right?
And Woodstock Meadows are not.
So
Actually,
A lot of them are.
That's
I
my
don't,
point.
yeah, I don't,
Most of them are not. Yeah.
pretty tight area that's on the sewer.
And just out of balance, that table is broken up into condominium facilities, which has 148 condominiums, and then the apartments.
on the apartments, 168, yeah.
168, but what this list doesn't have, and I mentioned the last time, was like two-family houses, which there are a lot of, or single-family houses that are rented to non-owners. So just that there are other rental properties in town that aren't captured in here.
Yes, but we're talking about.
I
We're only
understand.
focused on multifamily.
Yeah.
And from a zoning standpoint, apartments and condos are identical. Multifamily is multifamily. You guys don't get to control ownership. So
Since
it's
I condo at Woodstock Meadows, a lot of them are rented.
Right.
Someone else, there's an owner, and then they rent it to someone else. Yeah, and a lot of times it happens that they lived in the unit for a certain length of time, then they may have moved up to a single family home, but kept the rental, have kept the condo and then rented it for an income stream.
Okay.
So, I mean, clearly, like Woodstock, Cornfield Point is dense in the area that it's developed. Obviously, it has a lot of open space out the back. Woodstock Meadows is, I would say, far and away the most densely developed multifamily in town, and I guess that's maybe a decent place to start. You're basically dealing with 56 units on. This says 0 acres. I don't really believe that. I think it's probably a little bit bigger than 0, but it's not a huge site.
How much land is associated with that development? How much open space do they have?
I don't think there's that much open space. I can check the acreage shortly. Let's see.
I had trouble finding it, John, so.
I don't know if is my screen still on the
Yes.
Woodstock Meadows, or you see the GIS?
GIS.
Okay.
Well, John's looking that up. Just like to mention, kind of follow up to what Amy said and the applicant, the discussions had about density. I think a lot of it hinges on the ability to provide safe drinking water to the condo apartment owners and septic, very long term, if not indefinitely. I mean, I can't imagine a time when we're going to start extending water mains, sewer mains throughout town. So if those two water-based systems can function essentially forever, as long as people are living there, I think that's really the key component. Secondary to that, I think, is how they look. Woodstock Meadows, I think, is very attractive. Cornfield Point as well. There are others, not going to mention, but they seem to be up close to the road. The park is up close to the road. Maybe that, and they're very visible because of that. Maybe that's just the nature of the land that they had to start with, that they couldn't be landscaped or hidden further back. Cornfield Point's interesting because it's a very dense development, not too far off of Senexit or Rosen Park. But there's a lot of land behind it that goes eventually down to the lake, which I assume gets pretty wet, but
And I know we probably don't want to start second guessing why it was developed in such a way, but seems like they had a lot more land to spread out on, but often not.
So,
and
Woodstock, I'm sorry, go ahead, Sid, sorry.
Building costs. Yep, that's the point.
Woodstock Meadows is just over 21 acres. So you're at a density of 2 3/4 units per acre or so. Which is, yeah, and it's tucked away in there. We can look at Essex Meadows and just flag the area that is clearly developed with, and probably includes the septic system, which would be, I don't know, broadly speaking, it's probably about that. And there we're at about 12.5 acres right there.
At that Cornfield Point, John, you're outlining?
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's Cornfield Point. And the Cornfield Point parcel goes well back, but I'm assuming the septic system is in this area back here. And so basically the developed area is this 12 acres.
That's about 3 units per acre.
Yeah.
Okay. So that 2.5 to 3 is pretty dense from looking at, but I mean, it certainly looks nice and it's well done. Then we've got some that are less dense that don't look as nice. And like we said, they're older units that are closer to the road and parking's in front of them, and it's very visible. A lot of those, if they've been set back a little bit or had some bushes or something planted, you wouldn't notice them.
Yeah. So I just don't know if NDDH or some state agency looks at both septic and well water and what's compatible for that given site, soils, topography, slope, geology, and can give us some direction about, with these kind of criteria, you can make it this dense. Because there's so much variety through town.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the NED8, the health department is gonna set how many units can go on strictly through their this septic size, and you need to have a well, significant water, enough water supply in it. I mean, we let them set the regulations. We can't set regulations for soil type, and I mean, that just gets way over our purview.
There is no standard if you have a gravelly parcel versus a loamy part, like.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of luck of the draw as far as what we got for land, and then with the Department of Health, he's defining what septic system you can use and how many bedrooms or so ever. I mean, they go by bedrooms, how many bedrooms you're gonna have on this, how big of a field you need for a certain unit. It's gonna limit your size.
But it seems like they're gonna give us the direction for density, and we can just rely on NDDH to give it a thumbs up or tell the
Yeah, but
applicant.
they're gonna decide on.
Yeah.
I mean, we can say whatever you want, but the Department of Health says there's no way you can have that many units. You can't build a septic system for that many units. They're gonna limit that. And plus, then you have to have water supply. John, you had a question?
Yeah, so I lived in Woodstock Meadows for 2 years, and I found it pretty much ideal for what we're doing. And I actually think it'd be very useful for us as a group to go over there and to sort of look around, see what we thought about the place, and actually do some research and find out exactly what the specs were and how they build it, what the deal was with the place. Because I really thought it was exactly what we're trying to find. And, it's one thing to sort of look at these pictures, but to actually be there and talk to people who designed it and, what was the deal? Like, what?
I mean, I can, yeah, I know what you mean, but I think
Does
it'd
it-
be
is it
pretty
really
intrusive to go
working?
up there. I mean, if you wanted to drive up there and drive through and take a look at it.
I mean,
We could certainly ask who developed it, do you know?
Pulaski developed it, unfortunately.
So we're not gonna be able to talk about.
So is it possible to get the specs and sort of find out what?
Public
No.
record, go ahead.
I mean, I don't think the town doesn't keep full plans anymore.
I mean, do we know what where the septic systems are and
The health department.
Well,
actually.
yeah, sure. That's something we could determine. And I assume it's probably a couple of separate septic fields, you know, more or less behind the buildings. If Woodstock Meadows is here right now, I would assume you probably have a couple of septic systems out the back of these units, out back of these units, out back of these units. And public health code would dictate what regulatory path they'd go through. If you have a number of buildings on the same septic system, it's considered a community septic system and it gets reviewed by DEP. If each individual building gets its own septic system, then it goes through local health permitting. These things depend. And I would note in our discussion last month, we talked about a couple of different regulatory examples. The example from Columbia, Connecticut, did not set a minimum or a maximum density, and instead basically relied on the soil conditions and the public health code to identify what the maximum allowable density would be. So it sort of took planning and zoning out of the idea of, kind of, holding its finger up to the wind and say, 2 units to acre, 3 units to acre, I don't really know. It basically let the soil decide.
Just for the record, Woodstock Meadows and Cornfield Point are on perfect system, gravel for septic systems.
Right.
That's why I built them there. They're not on Woodstock Hill for a reason, because the soils are much different. That's a gravelly area, and it worked out very well to get those systems in. But I think as soon as you get over 6 or 10 units, it's gonna be a state decision on the size of the, how many units are there based on the septic. As soon as it's over 5,000 gallons of use on the site, it becomes a state decision, not Northeast District's decision.
It almost seems like we should not have any density standards or acreage requirements. Because those answers are really gonna be determined by either state or NDVH. Exactly.
Where were you last month, Sid?
I think, Sid, I don't totally disagree with you, except when you get to traffic. And then somehow you gotta be able to bring in that traffic component of how many units are you putting on a road. Right now we have a community district, so anything could be put anywhere. But if you somehow limit it, that it has to be on a state highway, I wouldn't disagree with you. But if it's all of a sudden on a back road let's see, I'm trying to figure out which one, the Redhead Hill Road. People on Redhead Hill might be a little concerned with the traffic coming off of a project. Well, that's gonna have poor soils, it's not gonna be a lot of units. But I think traffic is probably the one thing that we have to, that's where your density factor is gonna come back in. How many people are gonna be driving by the neighbors that are already there? And again, Roseland Park's a pretty main thoroughfare.
Right. I agree with you, but I think we've all heard the applicant's expert traffic engineer come in and say, this road has a capacity of this, and my applicant's not gonna add to this, so therefore you should approve it. And I don't mean to be negative or skeptical, but.
Well, and there's rightfully so, because I've hired those guys and they do say that. But the other parts are, we do have main traffic roads in town. And we can probably encourage developments to be along those versus to be out in the middle of nowhere, where it could make a bigger difference. I'm an advocate of funneling or directing the development where you think it's most appropriate for the town. Not let the developer say, I found a parcel of land for a great price and this is where I'm gonna put the project. We really should be giving suggestions of where it goes.
So if I could pursue that a little bit, Doug, other than state roads, which obviously are designed to have higher capacity, are there other geographic areas in town that you would suggest would be more appropriate than not?
Well, I don't want to say so because I'd say.
You're on the planning commission, Doug.
That's where I live. But Woodstock Road certainly can handle more traffic than, I'm trying to think of, Payne District or something. Well, Payne District gets a lot of traffic going.
Child Dome, perhaps.
Child Dome, the gravel road.
English neighborhood is not a good high traffic road.
No, it is not.
But they get a lot of traffic on it going to Southbridge. Since I was on my bicycle this morning and couldn't believe
That's
how much
dangerous.
traffic was. But those are state highways maybe where we can encourage it. And then and I don't want to do this because the people who live on Senexit and the people who live in Roseland Park really don't want more projects being built there, which is going to increase the traffic that's on their roads. But they are the main feeders. Parent Road, Rocky Hill, those are feeder roads that go elsewhere. It's not an easy decision, but something to talk about. That's why I think we have the discussion.
Then you can also encourage or for more duplex or something on the less busier roads. You know, somebody wants to put a duplex in, that's really not much more traffic than a single house or, you know, I mean, and I don't even know if you go to a triplex, but I mean, just that those are the kind of things we can, you know, the multifamily, the bigger units, more density, we might want to, like Doug saying, I think great ideas to, and towards a higher traffic sections of town. We're not overloading roads that are all, a lot of roads in town can be fairly dangerous, because we all drive too fast. Yeah. So I think these are the ideas that we need to hash out before we actually start. I mean, the NEDH is gonna set pretty much kind of control our density unless we set up a number. Then we just need to do setbacks and, you know, reasonable setbacks and the amount of land you need to put the units in.
I think Woodstock Meadows is a perfect example of how buffering works well.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you drive by that
Can't even
and
see
you
it.
don't even know it's there.
Yeah.
And I agree with you on Cornfield Point. You can see them, but the scale works. I don't know why. You know, they're not 2 stories. Most of Cornfield Point is a story and a half. There are a few townhouses in there. But again, you don't notice it when you drive by as much.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Interesting, though, you were talking about those 2 developments in relation to traffic. I've never seen a line of cars coming out of or going in either of those 2 developments. So I am curious why you can have so many units and have such a little traffic coming and going out of them. Unless I just happen to be going by off times during the day, but.
No, I'm not driving.
They're all unemployed in here.
I'm not driving around at, you know, 7:30 in the morning to see like a line of cars.
Early in the morning,
Yeah.
later. in the
It's
night.
not bad.
I don't see them all day long.
I drive by there that early.
We work,
Yeah.
pretty first fields down below, it's not, never seen
I also-
anybody coming in.
I'd say most I've ever seen waiting was 2-3 cars.
They also have good sightlines, which is also, if you have poor sightlines, you're gonna notice that traffic more. But it's easy to get in and out of them, so it's not backing up.
Same thing with that one on Trip Road. Can't see that from the road either. That's a fair amount of units up there.
The Meadows doesn't,
Coming down hills from Woodstock Meadows.
the Meadows itself doesn't, but the people on Roseland
Yeah.
Park do.
So just looking at this, I wanted to get a sense there, I apologize for the graphics here, but yeah, the Woodstock Meadows really doesn't start for about 200 or 250 feet back from the road. There's about 200 feet buffer back over here, a little bit smaller to the rear, but there's not as much, you know, other residential density into the rear. So yeah, there's a pretty solid wooded buffer around the whole thing.
John, how far is the buffer for the one on Trip Road?
Trip Road, hang on.
Which one? Oh, I see. You're off further. Yeah.
Okay, but they know, it's out my head.
You're almost on Saving Street.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's setback. That's 400 or 500 feet, I think.
Where am I? Here's Trip.
There's actually a bunch of units back there. 2 projects there.
Yes, well, there's one off of,
Are we,
under,
I know.
these here, the Pine Ridge? Is that what we're talking about?
yeah.
And the other one's at the bottom of your street.
So these 2, how much,
Well
Buffer?
shielded from.
right? So, well, so I mean, the driveway itself, before you get to the activity, is 500 feet.
Yeah.
And then you've got from the rear, yeah, that's 275. That's 350.
There's another one
Yeah.
off of, Underwood, correct?
Yeah, that's off about.
And down here, this Woodstock Hills.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, that was way out there.
So that's, well, this, yeah, that's, I mean, this driveway, you're,
That's way
all
out
right,
there.
hang on.
But again, you don't notice them from the.
So yeah, you're 200 feet, basically, you know, buffer between the next residential property out here.
But the developer of that development had the option of putting his or her houses not on a road, but a lot closer, but they chose to put it back pretty far.
Mhm.
Some lots, I think the developer seems to have that opportunity to site the buildings in different locations. Others are just kind of stuck with what they have.
Yeah, it's a lot of.
Yeah, it depends on your soil.
It's a
Soil dynamics and.
Yeah, and the shape of the lot and whether it's right on the road or set back like some of these. I want to know for whether the commission would want to consider requiring some sort of a buffer, significant buffer from a town road to kind of push these things back, make them less visible.
Well, the current multifamily regulations have a substantial setback. I believe it's 200 feet setback from the road is in the current regulation.
Yeah, all right, well, all right, maybe.
That's the extreme.
Yeah. When you start to run the gamut of affordable and attainable housing too, so
Yeah.
if you're gonna make this most pristine off the road. Price tag's gonna be up there.
Yeah.
You get it a little more close to the road, it's probably not quite so slightly, it's a little more, well, it's attainable.
It's true, or the other alternative is, and the thing I think I'm sensing is,
All of our bases, we've got like. Be flexible.
yeah, it also possibly might matter if the buffer is significant, it might not actually matter how many units are on the interior. I mean, you know, other than to Doug's concern about traffic, but you know, if you're surrounded by 200 feet of woods on all sides, doesn't matter if you've got 2 units in there or 24 units in there. You don't see it if you're a neighbor. So that's I'm saying these things out loud because I'm sort of processing the input you guys are getting about what you see that's good about these sites, you know, and the various knobs that we can turn from a regulatory standpoint.
Yeah, so I mean, we definitely don't want them like on the road with the parking right there without any break. I mean, I just make it more attractive for people to live in it too, if you're not. I mean, you certainly need some setback and buffer, but
To that end, how do people feel about the Country Manor? It's on Harrisville Road across from the golf course. These few buildings, which are fairly close to the road.
yeah, they are. They're I mean, you see the front ones. I mean, they're not gorgeous, but they're functional. I also don't go by there very much. So, I mean, and I know years ago, I had a friend that lived there.
So that building is 80 feet off the road. And with no vegetated buffer, there's nothing there.
Yeah, so I mean, if they had some kind of like a vegetative buffer, some bushes, and then they would be really much less noticeable.
So my general feeling about that place was it was pretty ugly because it was, I mean, A, the place was ugly. B, it was not far off the road, you could see it, so it really seemed out of character for the town.
Yes.
And it just didn't seem like what we'd be aiming at.
You know, we can't regulate ugly.
Well, you can.
But we can at least regulate it so we can't see it.
It was multi-story, number one. Number two, it was very dense. And it was very close to the road. So those are things.
Those are things we don't like. Has anyone ever had a real problem about it though? Like, has neighbors complained about it? Have you had, you know what I mean? It's.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been there long enough that nobody, they've been there, they've always been there. I don't know when they
said it
will.
himself, nobody ever drives down there.
No, well, here, this is the apartments that we were just talking about, Country Meadow, or whatever it's called, Country Manor. I worked in this building right here, a couple 100 feet away for 15 years. Never noticed it all. And, you know, drove Harrisville Road 2-3 times a day. You know, it becomes background noise, you know, and I don't mean noise. It's just, you don't notice it because it's always there.
I guess what I was saying is we wouldn't want them all to look like that.
No,
If this was 1 or 2, it'd be fine, but. I mean, I think Woodstock Meadows and Cornfield Corners are more in keeping with the general character of the town.
Yes, but those are hugely expensive projects. I mean, I think then, you know, we might be looking to get some more, you know, 6 or 8 family unit in where we can, and that would be more affordable to build.
Yes.
And then the rents would be cheaper, because I mean, if somebody's gonna build something as condos, those are more expensive than just building like an apartment. I mean, I think I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like it's the cost, if you build an apartment building, you know, we're building something for people to rent, it's gonna cost you less than building condo units that you have to sell.
So that gets to what we're looking for. Are we looking for a spectrum of
We want a
affordability?
spectrum
Are we
of stuff.
looking
We're
for
looking for
only cheap stuff
duplexes.
and only fancy stuff?
I think we need a plan. We wanna open it up so that we have a range of housing available.
And that, my suggestion is the same as we've done with our subdivision regulations. We have a minor subdivision, we have a major subdivision. Maybe we create regulations so that a 2 or 4 unit building has different buffers than a 24 or 10 units or 6 units and more. Because then it allows someone, maybe a local person, to develop it and build, you know, maybe they can build, they live in 1 unit, and they have 2 others that they rent. When you start getting into 50 units, now you're looking at major developers coming in, and they may not be quite as interested in what how it blends in with the town, except to get it done and sold. But I think that blending of units, one of the reasons it doesn't make an impact for you when it's only 2 or 3 units, it's not, the scale isn't as overwhelming, the single family homes that surround it.
So I mean, that sort of feeds into one of the major questions here. How do we make this attractive to developers? I mean, it's fine to sit here and theorize about what the ideal place should look like, but is anyone gonna actually want to build places like that?
I think if you give them different levels or densities that they can work with, you'll find you'll have more people interested than if you have, it's gotta be buffered 600 feet back from the road. And then they're gonna be looking at larger parcels with a larger development.
And the way the regulations are written now, it's practically impossible to put a multi-family. It's impossible. So we just want to, I mean, we can, build it and they will come. We make the plans and we make the space available, and maybe they come. We can't make people come do it, but we can certainly make this, the regulations workable so that people can. And hopefully they will, but you can't.
They also can come back, if we have start with a set of regulations, they can come back and, just like we have tonight with an applicant making a text amendment, saying, yeah, this is really good, but it doesn't work for this reason. Can I change that part of the regulation to allow it to fit? And then we can say yes or no. Then you'll find out what is economical and what works from the developer side of it.
And, and while we're doing this, we can look at whatever you call those units that you were MRCs, and make that certainly wouldn't come under multifamily housing. It'd be a separate thing, but I mean, it's just, you need to create a wide canopy.
But a lot of the issues that we're talking about, Cornfield Point and the Meadows, would apply to this project too, and buffering makes a difference. So that you don't see 122 units when you drive by. If it's set back, it may have a significant difference on the visual impact of the neighborhood.
So if I might, Mr. Chair, what I'd be happy to do for the next portion of the discussion next month perhaps is sort of summarize some of the values and considerations that this commission is expressing, and begin to sort of establish a potential framework for sort of building out a regulation that where the key considerations aren't necessarily density so much as buffering and visual impact, location, ideally along major roads or collector roads, and considerations like that. And we can kind of, and perhaps the idea of, a 2-unit, 3-unit, 4-unit be relatively easy to develop. Something beyond that, would ramp up in complexity and buffering and requirements and things like that. So a gradation of impact as well. I'm summarizing from the top of my head, but I think that would be the kind of framework that I would look to present to you.
That would, I'm not gonna be here for the next monthly meeting. Would you would it be open to having like a planning meeting and really, sure, we're gonna be here for that, but,
Beginning of October, is that what you mean?
yeah, October,
The 2nd?
the 2nd?
That's the next scheduled meeting. Yeah, that's not a difficulty.
Yeah, I will be here for that. Is that agreeable to the board, having a planning meeting on October 2nd, where basically all we're gonna discuss is, shouldn't be a terribly long meeting, all we're gonna discuss is the multifamily housing issues. Trying to get the meeting so that our planning meetings are planning meetings, and our regular meetings is where we do all our business, and then we can do discussions there if we have time. Just because having 2 full meetings a month gets daunting sometimes. So I mean, I just trying to, obviously we we just did put something on the first meeting. Remember, but that's my kind of my goal, so that if we don't have something going for that first meeting, we will cancel it and try to get this down to most, 1 meeting a month, or maybe we have 2 meetings a month every other month. Having 2 meetings a month every month all year round, everybody's busy. It's a long time, and we have work to do. I mean, we can do it, but that's kind of my goal. So we meet on the 2nd and discuss this.
Or if you'd like, Mr. Chair, I don't know if it would be too attenuated from this discussion, but you've already scheduled the hearing for the 6th of November, the first meeting of November. If you wanted to just piggyback this discussion on that, because you're meeting anyway, but we're happy to do it on the 2nd anyway, also.
I don't know,
Fine with the 2nd.
Fine, as long as it's gonna be fairly quick, and then we just keep this conversation going, so we're not having large gaps, so that we can get this. Things tend to build up and get in our way sometimes, and it's hard to move things along. I want to keep moving on this.
Okay, all right, so we'll and
Things always seem to get in the way when we start a project, and it takes.
Sure.
It's a long time. I understand it's a long process, but we just kind of keep pegging away at it. Well, yeah.
Can I bring up one more thing?
Sure.
Real quickly. One of the examples that we were given is called Fawn Ridge.
Yes.
Dug Hill Road.
Yes.
Looks like there's 2
units,
buildings,
6 units, and it's
3 units per building, so 6 altogether. Very visible from the road, Dug Hill Road, not much of a buffer. Looks like parking lot's paved almost right up to the front door. The lot seems kind of big, so I began thinking, well, I wonder if you could like push the units back, buffered up by the road. But then it got me thinking, what about not us that drive by, but the people that live there? They probably don't really care about the front yard. They're more into the backyard, which they have.
Yeah, they all have decks on them.
Yeah, and a pretty good sized lawn for kids to play and barbecues and whatever else you want to do, cornball back there or cornhole or whatever it's called.
Yeah, no, I mean, they do have the fairly nice backyard.
Yeah.
It's also drive by those at least once a day.
It's also fairly wet back there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Back on
maybe that's
a swamp. I mean, they probably couldn't have put those much farther back.
But certainly much more affordable than Point
Yeah,
with stock.
So I'm kind of thinking, how do we consider affordability? How do we consider quality of life for those people that live there? Having a big backyard, and really don't care about the front yard, and therefore may not caring about how it looks from the road. And I don't know, I know those things are tough to regulate, but.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's another consideration, it's like, yes.
Sid, I think that's a perfect thing to talk about in our next meeting, you know, how the impact of that. But if that was 20 units, it would have a much bigger impact on the neighborhood, like, but because it's only 6 or 12.
12, I think there's 2 6-unit buildings.
So it's 12 units. And that's why I'm thinking we can maybe have different standards for different number of units. So that if it's a smaller, if it's less than 10 units, less than 12 units, they can be a little bit closer to the road. Maybe we're not as stringent on the buffering. Then it's up to the developer, what market he's going for. If he buffers it, he may be able to get a higher price for him or a better rental. But then if he's appealing to people, working people, he may want it closer. That means it's less snow plowing, less shoveling and things like that. So I think that's good.
Not that I think we should regulate this into it, but I think it also helps because every unit is painted separately, so they kind of look like separate units when you drive by at a glance. They're all painted different colors. They all go together, but they're not all just one monoblock building.
So are we all set for meeting in
Thursday,
in October?
Yeah, first on October 2nd.
Do we have any like specific topics or homework type of questions?
Well, I
that-
just
I mean,
wanted
we have a lot of conversations, but we just muddle. I didn't know.
Yeah.
that-
My
John?
proposal I'd propose to give you guys something of a framework for sort of the key considerations that we're talking about, where we can kind of decide on question of, density controls versus let soil decide, buffering, location along a road, numbers of units dictating the level of scrutiny and buffering, some of those considerations, and we can kind of narrow this down to some more specific questions of preference.
Okay. So yeah, and just keep thinking about things you want to bring forward that we want to add on to this, and just maybe look through our current regulations again, and then just see where we want to go from that. So just so we really know where we're coming from. Going to.
I wasn't asking, I know we all have our own opinions. I was just trying to.
Yeah, no, well, John's gonna provide a framework. We're gonna go there.
Thanks, John.
Will you be able to
Amy.
get for the meeting so we can look at it?
Yes, I'll get it to you with the agenda for the meeting.
You are the agenda.
Well, I'll get, I should be able to do it for next Thursday, a week ahead.
Okay. Just so then we can look at it, so we can have a
Yes.
good idea. We make notes and try to get this moving. Okay, any more on, the multifamily housing discussion? We go on to the, POCD updates.
So no significant update. We did meet at the beginning of the month. It basically came to a consensus on the vision statement and structure of the plan, which is going to be sort of based around 3 broad principles about Woodstock, which is Amy, help me out. Protect, develop, and enjoy. And so we basically looked through the existing plan of conservation and development draft that Delia had been working on, and sort of teased apart the topic areas to be covered under the idea of protect. And so we'll look at conservation and natural resources and historic elements and community traditions. And we'll sort of cover those in that section. Under develop, we talk about economic development and housing development, and infrastructure questions. And then in enjoy, we'll talk about government engagement and communications and community traditions and Parks and Recreation and things like that. So the broad topic areas are going to be basically chunked up and treated in those three sort of broad themes. We agreed to a broad outline that way. And I will be providing, I believe at the next meeting, a couple of introduction sections about just what is plans of conservation, what are plans of conservation and development from a statutory standpoint, what's been the basic chronology of POCDs in Woodstock, and a little bit of the demographics. So that's where we're headed next.
Okay, thank you. Were there any home occupations?
There were not.
Do we have any citizens' comments? Yes.
Yes, how you doing? Ray Morgan, 161 Point Road. And John, I think this might be for you. Under new business number B, an application was taken out for Coy Road. You opted not to read out on the permit, and we are scheduling a hearing. I'm going into a blindsided. That permit, is that public knowledge? Is it something I can grab at the town hall? Or did you want to emphasize on what is going on? What it is?
The application is online right now.
It is online. Okay, thank you.
Let me just quickly share my screen so you can see where to get it. So if you go, here's the Woodstock homepage.
Yes.
If you go to Government, Planning and Zoning Commission, at the very top is 9/18/25 PZC meeting. That's tonight. Click that. You have the whole agenda with all the applications that are clickable. Application 668 right here. You've got the whole thing scanned and available to you wherever and whenever you are.
Awesome. Thank you. That educated me.
Okay. Under any other citizens' comments? Hearing none. Communications, the CEO report.
Sure. So the CEO report was included. Am I throwing that on the screen in the correct place? Yeah, okay. Here's the report. It was a somewhat more busy month in terms of permitting. Couple of new single-family residences, some solar panels, and a couple of accessory structures, sheds, pools. Issued a couple of bonds for new houses that were constructed, and we're waiting for the lawns to come in. We saw the commission applications this evening, and then dealt with a couple of complaints. Obviously, the concerns about activity on Quarry Road. We followed up on that and received an application. The annual report for Woodstock Sustainable Farms, that was submitted and will be under correspondence this evening. We'll share that in just a second. And then a couple of other just complaints that we're following up on. But I'm happy to answer any questions that people might have, commissioners may have.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, moving on to correspondence. Budget report. Yeah, there's our budget report.
I don't know if there's that much to it.
There's not much to it. That's what we spend the money we have to. Town collects it. I did sign for a couple of payments for public hearings. They're all small bills. So now moving on to correspondence. We had a letter about Woodstock Sustainable Farms from Barbara, that they were having amplified music, and that report that we got from him wasn't in what I think we were looking for from that we didn't get in January, that you were asking for, a report on how it went. And now we have a complaint about amplified music, which wasn't in the permit, I don't believe. So, I mean.
No, wait, hold on. Sorry, I want to back up and share something quickly with you so you understand what we're looking for. And I'm sure everyone recalls this, but so this, hopefully if you can see it, this is the conditions of approval of the special permit for Woodstock Sustainable Farms back in January of, wait a second, 2018? I think this is not correct. That's 23. This date should be 2023 or 2024. So right here, condition of approval number 5. After the 1-year trial period, review will be presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission by the applicant. This review will include all dates of events, number of people attending, and number of vehicles present per event. So that was the condition. This application was, or this approval was filed in March of 2024. So we're about 18 months out from that. And then I'll share you the report itself. Which is essentially this 4 bullets prepared by Emma Ackerman, the business manager of Azalina Foods, who works with Woodstock Sustainable Farm. And so we have 2024-25, 25 school regenerative farm tours, 40 to 60 children, 6 business events, approximately 20 to 25 adults, gravel bicycle race stop with 400 riders, and micro wedding with farm tour. Doesn't include vehicles, but otherwise this is a pretty bare bones response to the condition of approval.
Were there, on music, was it limited, was it supposed to be unamplified, or was there any kind of
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was a condition that said it was not amplified music.
So, I'm sorry. We're sort of, are we talking about the report, or are we talking about the complaint?
Oh, relating to the complaint, was there in the special permit, was there a limitation on amplified music?
I will bring up the conditions of approval again. I don't see a limit on amplification. We do see no music playing later than 11 p.m. on Friday or Saturday, or later than 9 p.m. Sunday through Thursday. I don't see anything about amplification.
Are there additional conditions? Because that doesn't look at all.
That could be in the application itself. He may not.
Oh, there we go. I'm sorry. There we go. No, here we are. 9. Only acoustic and low-level background music is allowed.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought so. It's supposed to be low level.
Is he having constables at the?
For the more recent event that I think maybe raised some of these questions, there was a request made to the constables fairly late in the game, and the constables were booked at other events, so they were not available. Attempts were made. I was informed by Mr. Rappaport, I don't believe he's in the audience, I could be wrong, or anyone else from Woodstock Sustainable Farms, indicated that the event the other weekend regarding the lack of constables was a private, non-commercial event. It was essentially friends and family. So from a regulatory standpoint, is that covered by the terms of the special permit because it's not a commercial agritourism event? It's a little bit of a gray situation.
They're diverting traffic, but that way they're supposed to.
I have no idea.
So
I think I might have passed 2 cars when I drove up Pulpit Rock from the 169 side. And I think everybody's supposed to be going.
They weren't supposed to let anybody go out. The other way.
So if he's, that's the problem, is that if he's having a private family event, then those conditions don't apply?
I think that will be the claim, and I think there's some legitimacy to the claim, because it's sort of you're asking someone, I believe Mr. Rappaport lives there. You're basically saying, well, since you have received this permit for a commercial event facility, agritourism, you are no longer able to hold any private events or enjoy, you know, private celebrations. I don't, you know, I wasn't part of this application. I don't know that, but I don't know that this commission would necessarily be saying that, but correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I mean, we can't do that. What? I was on, here. Is he supposed to let people know for each event he's having? Is he supposed to come in and at least give a notice for when he's having an event that is regulated? I don't think that was in the.
No, I don't think that's part of it.
No, I don't believe so. No.
So what's the next step, John, from your perspective? So the report doesn't seem to meet the conditions that were set forth. And whether it's worthwhile sending the form, the conditions again to say that this was the condition that you were approved for, and it doesn't seem to meet the reporting requirements.
Right. I exchanged emails with Mr. Rappaport when I received that 4-bullet report, and my answer was, is this it? So
He was supposed to come in he was supposed to come in front of us with a report. Not just in March or whatever.
I can express this to him. The terms of and I'll share this again, the terms of and I don't know if people are being overly literal or not. After the 1-year trial period, a review will be presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission by the applicant. He submitted you a 4-line email.
Okay, I remember, of course, we didn't put it in there in writing, but I remember the conversation was that he would come in and tell us how it went.
Because the permit was only good for 1 year.
You know, it's a special permit. There's a trial period, but it's a special permit. So, you know, in theory, it runs with the land. Obviously, if because of the trial period, if you've established some sort of framework for pulling the permit back, you can do that, but a special permit's been filed. It runs with the land.
But it was approved by the attorney, the town attorney, to say that it could be a 1-year special permit that would be renewable upon review with the commission. And it was based on the fact by the attorney that since no infrastructure had to be prepared for this special permit, roads or utilities, no capital cost by the applicant, the attorney felt comfortable having a 1-year special permit.
All right, yeah, and so you know, it's really your call at this point. I mean, certainly if we want to request that Mr. Rappaport and his staff come in to discuss this, I will direct him to do so. If you believe he has violated the terms, then we can proceed with legal action on you know, curtailing the permit.
So how about a well-crafted letter saying that he's in default of the requirements of his approval, and give him a certain period of time to come before us and present the data, send the data in and discuss the whole thing, and we can talk about the music, et cetera, et cetera. That seemed like a midway point. What do you guys think?
Well, if the music was for a private family event.
Well, let him tell us that. I mean, you know.
Well, I mean, I think that's where it goes through. That's the enforcement of the rules and stuff that runs through our zoning enforcement officer.
Okay.
He doesn't have to explain it to us. He has to explain it to him. We're not enforcement. We make the rules, and we made these rules. And we had a complaint. Complaint went to the zoning enforcement officer, the zoning enforcement. You know, talked to Ken, and he gave an explanation. It wasn't a public event. It was a private family event. We all had parties at our house where we had loud music.
I mean, that's obviously the music is bothersome to neighbors, and let him explain that, and maybe we could.
But if it was a private party, we have no noise ordering.
I
And
get that.
he doesn't have to explain it.
But he might get the idea that it's okay to have electrified music at paid event.
Well, I mean, I
if
think
we
that
don't say something
I'm
to him.
pretty sure John made that clear to him. Yeah, I mean, we can't bring him in here and bully him.
No, I'm not talking about bringing him in here for that. I'm saying he was supposed to present.
Yes, I mean, we
and-
can
and
have
come
him
here
do
for
it
review.
for the permit.
Yeah,
The music issue has been dealt with.
but
Whether you like it or not, the music issue has been dealt with.
okay, that's.
It's, I mean, and even if it was, yeah, it was, you know, a cease and desist a day and a half after the music has been shut off is not particularly effective.
So, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, John, but I mean, if we, to meet the needs of the permit, he needs to come in.
I did not mean bully. I mean, if they're neighbors who don't like that he's playing loud music, then so that's already been made clear to him. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, and
That's
we can't, if he's playing loud music at home on his own,
Right.
it's not a public event.
right.
We have no noise ordinance in town.
So
You hear right here in his report to us, he says he had, granted, it's only one wedding, but it was 70 people. He was approved for up to 50. And then at the top paragraph, he says he plans on increasing the amount of micro weddings, which according to what he defined it here is 70 people. His permit is for 50 people.
Yeah, he was supposed to do that. I just remember him being here. He was saying, oh, I'll come back with number of cars and that, and just.
No, I understand, but right now he's literally has it in words of
Yeah.
going
Yes.
against what his permit is for.
And it was a 1 year.
I'm not even counting the bike race.
Yeah.
So he just forgot, was that the idea, that he was
I
supposed to
would
come back
assume
here?
that it was.
So why don't we just remind him? and
Well,
have
so,
him
I
come
mean-
back here?
So what are we gonna? We have to
Yeah.
decide where we go with this 1 year special permit. Or is it, was a trial? So I mean, we didn't really have any complaints about any of his events that he had, public events. So do we extend it, to say, does he need to can't make him reapply, can we? I mean, that's just expensive. And another public hearing.
It sounded, the language sounded like he needed to essentially reapply in view of the results of the previous year. So that's what it
I bet
sounded
you're
like.
probably just gonna try to see if we had any problems and then extend.
But I don't think we should base our decisions on whether we've received complaints or not. We should base our decision on whether it was in compliance with the conditions of the permit. And right now, it seems like there are a number of conditions that were not complied with. So it's part of the permit was to go through a year, see what the events were like, see if there was compliance with the conditions. Come back in a year or so and tell us how things went. At that point, we can decide and reinforce the fact that there are conditions on the permit and or revoke them. Say, all right, everything seemed to be okay.
So are we out, what conditions weren't met?
The number of guests, the
Cars,
number of
nothing about
cars.
and the timeliness of the report, I suppose.
And more than likely, he had events past the year trial. He's on any between March and now, they're past the 1 year trial.
So I mean, the whether or not I do this as a certified letter or just an email, the idea is this commission would like Mr. Rappaport or his representatives to come in and essentially explain himself.
Yes.
I mean, I would send him a copy of,
Yes.
a Xerox copy of what the agreement was.
The 11.
Oh, that's what I did to get him to produce the report in the first place.
Yeah, this is the response you got?
Yes.
It was indeed. Although, I mean, we've been in touch a couple of times again, because following up on some of the complaints, there was a number of frantic texts on a Friday evening about constables' availability and things like that. So we've been in touch about, the nature of these events.
So, John, was your sense he was acting in good faith, or was he trying to blow you off?
I would say he was probably looking to avoid as much administrative hassle as possible.
Okay. That was diplomatically put there.
Thank you.
Okay, so our conclusion of that, you're gonna send them
He
a
will
letter.
be,
asking-
he will be at your next planning and zoning meeting with bells on.
Can we do that for I won't be here for October 2, but regular meeting in October?
Yeah, again, I won't. be
Yes,
here,
that's
but-
what I mean, is the regular, the next regular scheduled full commission meeting.
Mark will be here.
Right.
Then our secretary becomes chair. Who's not here?
Mark's in here. Boy, Mark's got a lot to do.
If if nominated, I will not run. If elected, I will not serve.
Okay. You all done with correspondence?
Now you have this thing on the Forest, ECOG's housing forum.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That, thank you for. No problem.
So that's on the screen. NECOG has been frantically advertising this thing. This is a week from Saturday at EastCon in Hampton. It's a forum on housing opportunity in Eastern Connecticut. I believe Delia will be speaking for anyone who is really missing her at this point. Presentation of some of the housing needs assessments and community affordable housing rating systems. So this interestingly, yeah, it doesn't say how long it goes, but it starts at 9:00 on September 27th and would count towards your quadrennial training requirements, should you choose to attend. But they just encourage participation.
It's close by, right? It's in, yeah.
It's in Hampton.
Close by, I'm not gonna be in town that day. But Amy, you need some points, so you should. But I mean, I'd highly recommend go, because it's probably more oriented housing problems that we have locally in a rural area, rather than some of the ones we've been to where it's been more higher population density and entirely different problems we have in the more rural areas. So I highly recommend that you attend if you can. So.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Boy, I beat them up.
You might be out of it.
Thank you, Donna.
Oh, yeah.